Welcome to Psych Shock. This is not a normal video. It is a long, slow descent. A ritual of sleep and symbol. You are invited to fall asleep to Jung, to let ideas about the mind drift past, like constellations behind closed eyes. Tonight we walk with three figures: the magician, the fool, the Anima and Animus. Not as abstract theories, not as textbook diagrams, but as living patterns in your own psyche, masks that slip on and off while you rest. This edit has been built as an entrainment. The words and pacing are designed to give your nervous system something gentle to follow. You do not need to concentrate. You do not need to remember. Just listen at the beginning. Then allow your attention to loosen. Let the sentences blur into tone. Let the symbols do their work. In the background, later in this journey, soft layers of binaural sound will fade in, subtle enough not to wake you, deep enough to nudge your brain toward calmer waves. For the full effect, use headphones if you can. Let the sound sit close, so the outside world can fade. If you wake in the middle of the night, the story will still be here. If you sleep through everything, your unconscious will take what it needs. So settle in. Find a position you can keep. Breathe once a little deeper than usual. You are entering a small private theater. Inside your own mind. The lights are dim. The curtain is about to move. Let us begin with a parable. The story of the fallen dream. There was once a man, mystic or madman, no one could say. He wandered the desert for 40 days, whispering into nothing, until the sky split open like torn fabric. And he saw the truth. Not angels, not gods, but symbols, patterns, a scaffolding of light and thought, projected from within. The desert was a mirror. The gods were masks. And his suffering? A loop in the code, authored by his own subconscious. He did not speak for 7 years after that. Because once you see the trick, you stop applauding the magician. This is the secret they never tell you. Reality is a reflection, a feedback loop. Simulated not by machines, but by mind. Your subconscious generates the terrain. Your superconscious, the higher architect Su, selects the rules of engagement. What you call life is a dream. Your nervous system is hallucinating with exquisite precision. And the moment you react, you fall for the trick. You re-enter the loop. You feed the illusion. But what if you didn't? What if instead of reacting to the hologram, you walked right through it? What if you stopped responding to the ghosts of your old code and rewrote the simulation entirely? That's what we're here to do. Let's begin. You were born into a dream, but no one told you it wasn't yours. From the moment your eyes opened, you were assigned symbols, name, nation desire. None of it chosen, all of it scripted. By what Jung called the collective unconscious. A psychic operating system older than language. It doesn't speak in words, it speaks in archetypes. The mother, the tyrant, the hero, the scapegoat. These aren't just myths. They are neural templates, preloaded avatars that structure how you feel, choose, obey, collapse. You think you're acting freely, but you're not. You're wearing a costume handed to you by a dream you never authored. Neuroscience now confirms what mystics whispered. Your brain isn't perceiving reality. It's predicting it. According to the free energy principle, your nervous system generates a world based on probabilities. Minimizing surprise, repeating patterns, simulating outcomes before they occur. You are not seeing what is. You are hallucinating what your past believes should be. And here's the trap. If you don't update the code, you keep reliving the same loop, with different actors, different settings, same pain. What Jung called archetypes. Modern neuroscience calls eigenmodes of the unconscious. Deep, recursive attractor states that shape attention, emotion, and perception. You don't see reality. You see your own mind projected outward, pixel by pixel, story by story. You are trapped in a simulation. But it's not digital. It's symbolic, mythic, psychological. And every time you react to it, you reinforce it. You feed the demon. The question isn't whether reality is simulated. The question is, whose simulation are you living in? Because until you make the unconscious conscious, you will be moved by invisible hands. And call it fate. There is a neural architecture of belief. What you believe writes what you see. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Your prefrontal cortex is a projector. And what it projects is built using something called prefrontal synthesis. The brain's ability to stitch symbols, memories, and imagined futures into a mental scene. This is your internal screenwriter. It builds entire realities from scratch. It simulates arguments that haven't happened, outcomes that never will, and pain that isn't real. Until you react to it. And once you do, the illusion locks in. But it doesn't stop in your head. According to the science of embodied cognition, your thoughts bleed into flesh. Belief isn't just a mental script. It's muscle tension, posture, hormone, breath. You don't just think you're powerless. You hunch your shoulders. You restrict your diaphragm. You lower your gaze. You become it. Emotion is not an after effect of thought. Emotion is thought, made blood warm and biological. The simulation feeds on that. It loops you through memories, triggers, symbols, and waits for the moment you react. Not with logic, but with emotion. With breath, with body, with belief. And every time you respond the same way, you reinforce the blueprint. You anchor the hologram. You signal to your nervous system, this is the real world. Give me more. And it will. Not because it hates you, but because it thinks that's what you want. This is the trap of reaction. Here's where it tightens. You think you're making choices, but you're running loops. When something happens, someone insults you, looks away, triggers your doubt, you feel a pull. That pull is ancient. It's not random. It's your mirror neurons activating. Biological empathy that simulates the emotions and intentions of others as if they were your own. You are wired to mirror the simulation, which means every time you react to something out there, you're not defending yourself. You're absorbing it. You're letting the code write back. Psychologically, this is mimicry. Neurologically, it's entrapment. Occultly, it's possession. Because when you react, you are no longer the author of your state. You become a node in someone else's dream. You reinforce their pattern, their expectation, their narrative. You become a character in the external program, not the programmer. In mythology, this is the mirror realm, where every step forward bends back on itself, where the hero, trying to fight the illusion, ends up trapped by it. Because the more you punch at the hologram, the more real it becomes. Every reaction you give, be it outrage, panic, craving, collapse, is an offering. It is fuel for the simulation, proof to your subconscious that the illusion is real, and a signal to keep repeating it. The trap isn't the event, it's your reaction to it. And unless you break that ritual, you will replay the same scene in 1,000 costumes, until your nervous system forgets it was ever free. But there is a moment, barely a second, between stimulus and response. In that space, your entire fate is coded. React, and the simulation owns you. Don't, and the system stalls, the program glitches. Here's the ritual. Brand it into your nervous system. When reality triggers you, pause. Don't flinch, don't argue, don't explain. Instead, ask, what would the archetype do? Not the broken self. Not the wounded animal. The archetype. The sovereign. The magician. The dreamer beyond the veil. The version of you that already lives in the future reality. Unbothered, unshaken, above the loop. This is not delusion. This is neural redirection. What Jung called active imagination. A ritual of psychic authorship. You close your eyes. You enter the imagined scene. And you respond from there. Not from fear. Not from ego. From symbolic command. Why does it work? Because your brain's architecture obeys image over logic. The cortical-subcortical loop, the dialogue between limbic emotion, symbolic cognition, and archetypal schema, is the true seat of identity. Archetypes aren't poetic fluff. They are neural eigenmodes, recursive feedback systems that govern your perception and embodiment. When you respond as the archetype, You activate a different subcortical frequency. You become it. The myth rewrites the man. This isn't bypassing. It's precision warfare. You're cutting the cord between your nervous system and the old loop. You are refusing to mirror the code. You are becoming the source. Every simulation runs on a feedback loop. Stimulus, reaction, prediction, reinforcement. Break the chain, and the system has nothing to lock onto. This is the occult science of non-reaction. When you deny the illusion your energy, you deny it oxygen. You're not being passive. You're being lethal. You're corrupting the code that fed on your belief. Neuroscience calls this predictive error suppression. When your brain expects a pattern, and you don't give it one, it rewires. Your nervous system recalibrates. New predictions emerge. New actions unfold. You overwrite the loop, not by force, but by refusal. And the moment you don't react, you prove to your subconscious that this is not your reality anymore. You signal, I no longer live in that world. And the subconscious, that obedient architect, responds, understood. Non-reaction is not apathy. It's dominance. It's declaring that only you determine what's real. It's refusing to serve a dying pattern. The trap collapses when you stop flinching. The spell breaks when you stop feeding it. And what remains is pure authorship. The simulation only ends when the author awakens. You've seen behind the veil. You've watched the shadows twitch. You've felt the pull, the bait, the loop, the trap disguised as life. But now, something changes. Because when you withhold reaction, you reclaim authorship. When you refuse the mirror, you dissolve the spell. And when you stand still, the entire architecture begins to flicker. This is what magicians knew. This is what mystics encrypted in symbol and rite. To rewire the world, you must first unhook from its illusions. Withdraw belief. Withhold your emotion. Deny the false god your sacrifice. Not with rage. Not with struggle. With stillness. That stillness is not silence. It is voltage. The field begins to warp when you stop playing by its rules. And now, you are no longer a character in the dream. You are the dreamer. You have met him. In the punchline that left you reeling, in the symbol that branded itself into your mind, in the ordeal that broke you and built you again. Every culture dressed him in different masks: trickster, sage, sorcerer, devil. Jung named him the magician, and warned he is the most potent of all archetypes. He is not a stage illusionist with sleight of hand. He is the archetype that edits the code of your reality. The one who teaches through riddles and shocks, who cracks open the nervous system so it can be rewritten. Your brain knows him already. Predictions shattered, laughter erupting. A silence weighted with meaning. Terror just before transformation. That current moving through you. That's him. The magician is not theater. He is circuitry. He is the ritual by which the nervous system breaks and remakes itself. And here is the dangerous truth. If you have not claimed him, you are already living inside someone else's magic. Every advertisement, every political speech, every ritual of culture is a spell cast through him. He is the archetype that rules whoever dares to wield him. If not you, then them. You don't get a choice about this archetype. The magician is already inside you, hijacking, guiding, rewriting. If you refuse him, you don't silence him. You hand him over. Look around. Every ritual of culture bends through his shape. The marketing campaign that lodges itself in your skull. The political speech that ignites a crowd into frenzy. The influencer who sells you not just products, but a new self. They are magicians in the oldest sense, commanding symbols, orchestrating ordeals, hijacking awe. Your nervous system doesn't care whether the ritual is sacred or synthetic. It responds the same way. A frame closes around your perception. A symbol hooks your emotion. An ordeal seals the change. The magician is not an archetype you can ignore. He is the weapon used against you in every field of modern life. Your algorithms know him. Your culture worships him. And unless you learn to wield him yourself, you are the raw material for someone else's spell. Long before psychology gave him a name, the magician was already written into the bones of myth. He appeared as Hermes at the crossroads, carrying messages between worlds. As Loki, smiling while he set fire to the order of the gods. As the tribal shaman who descended into death, only to return with new eyes and new laws for the people. Every initiation bore his fingerprints. The masked elder who dragged the youth into darkness, the chant that dismantled ordinary reality, the ordeal that scarred the body, rewired the brain, and opened a passage into adulthood. Through pain and paradox, the magician initiated human beings into meaning. This was never mere theater. It was survival technology. The tribe endured because its members could be transformed. The nervous system needed shock to reset, symbol to bind memory, and ritual to make the change stick. The magician was the operator of that machinery, the archetype that taught human beings how to reprogram themselves. Strip away the names and myths, and he is still here. Every threshold you cross, every identity you abandon, every transformation you survive. You're walking through his doorway. The magician wears 3 masks, and you have seen each one. First, he arrives laughing. The trickster. He delights in chaos, rips apart your maps, leaves you spinning in paradox. Jung knew him as the destabilizer, the one who breaks certainty to make space for new vision. Your nervous system knows him too. The jolt when prediction fails, the dopamine spike of surprise, the sudden laughter that hides fear. Occultists call this guerrilla ontology, shattering reality tunnels so that freedom can slip through the cracks. Then, when the chaos has done its work, the mask changes. The wise one. Here he is the weaver of symbols, the architect of meaning. He compresses complexity into one gesture, one story, one image that burns into memory. Neuroscience calls it symbolic compression. The brain binding thousands of impressions into a single pattern the prefrontal cortex can hold. Magicians have always used this power. A word, a sigil, a hypnotic suggestion that reshapes how the world appears. This is when awe arrives, when the chaos resolves into sudden clarity. I see it now. And then, the mask falls away. The initiator steps forward, merciless. He demands ordeal, wound, darkness, dismemberment, followed by rebirth. Jung saw that initiation is never clean. It scars, it terrifies, it destroys who you were before. Modern neuroscience reveals why. Under stress, the brain becomes plastic. Identity dissolves, and new pathways can be forged. This is why every ancient rite forced the initiate into suffering. Only terror opens the door to transformation. Occult traditions still carry it. Sexual magic, blood rites, trials of endurance, each designed to break the old self so something stranger, stronger, more alive can emerge. These are not three separate figures. They are one magician unfolding. Chaos to rupture, symbol to bind, ordeal to transform. You have walked through this cycle before, and you will walk it again. Modern science has tried to unmask the magician. Neuroscience speaks of prediction error, the brain's endless attempt to forecast reality before it arrives. When expectation breaks, attention surges, and the nervous system rewrites its models of the world. This is the trickster in neural clothing. Surprise as the engine of transformation. But look deeper. Every thought you have is already a symbol. The brain does not hold the world itself. It holds compressed patterns, sketches, echoes. The prefrontal cortex is not a mirror, but a poet, binding vast complexity into the single line you call meaning. This is the wise one reappearing in circuitry, not outside you, not in some myth, but humming inside the folds of your cortex. And ordeal. Even here, biology bows its head. Stress cracks the rigid shell of habit. Pain and uncertainty open the gates of plasticity. Under pressure, the nervous system becomes soft clay again, ready to be reshaped. The initiator is written into your synapses, just as surely as he is carved into every temple wall. The scientists reduce it to models. But listen closely, and you will hear the same truth the mystics whispered. Consciousness itself is ritual, a dance of prediction and correction, a play of symbol and sensation, a death and rebirth in every moment. You are not simply living inside a brain, you are living inside a ceremony, and the magician is its officiant. The occult has always known what science is only beginning to trace. That reality is not a solid thing. It is a spell. Every culture builds its world from symbols, compressing chaos into stories that the nervous system can endure. The magician is the one who knows this and dares to touch the machinery. But touching comes with danger. For to see that the world is woven is also to see that it can unravel. Every symbol can be inverted. every sacred word can be twisted. This is why magicians were feared, not because they played with demons, but because they played with meaning itself. To edit meaning is to edit reality. Occultists whispered that belief is not sacred, it is a tool. Sigils, chants, ordeals. These were never superstitions, but operating systems. Ritual is the coding language of consciousness. And you are running programs every day, whether you choose them or not. Advertising slogans, political slogans, childhood scars repeated until they harden into fate. Each one is a spell still humming in the circuitry of your mind. The magician is the one who breaks the trance, who lifts the veil and says, "You are not your conditioning. You are the sorcerer of your own nervous system." But freedom is never gentle. The trickster will shatter your certainty. The wise one will bind you to new symbols. The initiator will cut you open. This is not peace. This is transformation. And here is the secret. You cannot avoid this archetype. The only choice is whether you are its prey or its practitioner. The magician is already inside you. Not a figure in myth, not a mask in a book, but the pulse that rips apart certainty and stitches it back into something stranger. You have felt him in your crises. You have felt him in your moments of clarity. You have felt him in the ordeals that stripped you bare and left you gasping, reborn against your will. Do not think you can avoid him. You are inside his circle right now. Life itself is the ritual, and your every thought is an offering. So here is the act. Raise your hand. Right now. Draw an invisible circle in the air. This is not theater. This is declaration. Inside the circle, the self you choose. Outside, the noise, the contagion, the inherited trance. Let your nervous system feel the border. Attention sharpens. Breath steadies. The body begins to believe the line you draw. This is the first lesson of the magician. Symbols obey the flesh, and flesh obeys the symbol. And now, one more seal. Whisper 3 times, not for me, but for yourself. Chaos breaks me. Symbol binds me. Ordeal transforms me. These words are not mine. They are yours now. They will echo the next time the trickster laughs in your face, the next time the wise one whispers a meaning that blinds you with awe, the next time the initiator drags you screaming into change. Remember this. To hold a belief is to flirt with madness. To break a belief is to kneel before mystery. To stand without belief at all is to stand in the magician's circle, palm open to the unholdable. The ritual is complete. The archetype will return. The only question is, will you shape it or let it shape you? You arrive barefoot at the edge of the temple. No name, no rank, no mask. And there he waits, the fool, 0, Aleph, the first breath before creation. Every other archetype carries a burden. the magician carries tools. The priestess carries secrets. The emperor carries laws. But the fool carries nothing, and so he carries everything. He steps forward with a smile, mocking, radiant, infinite. The world laughs at him, but the world also fears him. Because the fool is a paradox. He is the vow and the breath before the vow. He is the laugh that cancels the vow. Both are sacred. In the golden dawn, the fool was Aleph, the ox, the wind, the unformed spirit. In Kabbalah, he was zero, the void before form. To carry nothing is to be aligned with infinity. Psychology calls this beginner's mind. Neuroscience calls it novelty. The brain floods with dopamine when it encounters the unknown. Patterns crack open. Circuits reset. Possibility returns. Chaos magicians understood this. The fool is not just a card or a clown. Folly itself is a spell. When you mock reality, you loosen its grip. Every paradox, every absurd act becomes a wedge driven into the structure of belief. This is how you break consensus reality and install your own. The fool is that possibility made flesh. He is not the one who knows. He is the one who dares to begin. But look around you. The world has banished the fool. We built a culture of straight lines, productivity cults, endless seriousness, status and schedules nailed into our skulls. No room for folly, no space for play. Only machines, and the demand that you become one. Psychology shows what happens. The mind hardens, the self becomes a cage. Your default mode network keeps looping the same tired narrative. Who you are. What you must be. The little story you can never escape. The fool breaks stories. He mocks them. He shatters their solemnity. In neuroscience, this is violation of expectation. The anterior cingulate lights up. Your brain admits something is wrong. Something does not fit. And in that rupture, new paths appear. That is why kings once kept jesters. Not for comedy, but for survival. The fool was the one who could say the forbidden truth. He was the shock that prevented stagnation. The fool forces the brain to admit it does not know. Step inside the temple. The initiate is stripped bare. No rank, no wealth, no name, only breath and trembling. This is the fool's first mask, the initiate. When the ego dissolves, a new self can be born. Psychology calls it ego death. Neuroscience calls it a reset of the salience network. The hierarchies collapse. The brain loosens its grip. A space opens for transformation. But the fool wears a second mask. The trickster. He is not only the gatekeeper of the temple, he is also the one who mocks the temple walls. Parody is his weapon. Absurdity is his shield. Even the most solemn magicians knew this. That is why ritual is filled with barbarous names and strange sounds. They sound absurd, even laughable. Yet in that absurdity, power slips through. The fool is hidden there, mocking the right while making it work. When he ridicules authority, he disarms it. When he breaks the script, he becomes immune to the script. And in your nervous system, the same magic unfolds. Laughter floods the body with endorphins. The amygdala, the fear center, goes quiet. Safety is felt. The brain rewires. Every joke is a miniature initiation. You step into chaos, lose the script, and emerge with new circuitry. This is the fool's secret. He is both the barefoot initiate and the grinning saboteur. Both doors open at once. He is the gate and the saboteur of the gate. He stands at the temple threshold, but he also slips outside to throw stones at its windows. He is both the welcome and the insult, both the entry point and the disruption. Civilizations fear him. Empires demand seriousness, hierarchy, legibility. The fool answers with nonsense. A crooked smile, a joke that turns the king red with rage, and yet without him, power corrodes. Without folly, tyranny hardens into stone. The psyche fears him too. The persona wants consistency, order, masks that never slip. The fool breaks those masks with paradox. He whispers contradictions until certainty unravels. He forces the mind to see its own absurdity. Jung saw it. Individuation requires folly. Without the fool, wisdom calcifies into dogma. Without the fool, the self becomes a tyrant. The fool is not opposite to wisdom. He is the guardrail that keeps wisdom alive. Now it is your turn to call the fool into your own life. The rite is simple. Choose one act of deliberate folly. Sing to your coffee before you drink it. Wear your shirt inside out. Talk to the mirror as if it were an oracle. Your brain will resist. It will whisper that you look ridiculous. That resistance is the mask cracking. That is the default mode network panicking. And when you laugh, the circuitry resets. New pathways are born. This is ritual folly. It is not comedy. It is liberation. A way to break the spell of seriousness and reclaim the beginner's mind. Step barefoot into the temple. Laugh in the face of the altar. Both are holy. And now the question is yours. What do you see in the fool? Do you fear him? Or do you welcome him? Write in the comments what this archetype means to you, and tell me, what other archetypes should we uncover in future episodes? Because this is not just a performance, it is a ritual. And your words are part of the rite. If this video shifted something in your mind, you're ready for the next level. Download my free ritual guide in the description. No catch, just pure psychological alchemy you can use tonight. If you want to go deeper, hit the initiation playlist. It's your step-by-step journey into breaking unconscious patterns and mastering your own mind. Both links are waiting below. Your transformation starts now. Until next time. The most dangerous spirit you will ever meet does not come from a book of demons. It does not stalk the graveyard or whisper from the shadows. It comes from inside you. Jung called it the Anima and the Animus, the inner opposite, the phantom lover, the ghost in the mirror. It is the hidden double that decides who you desire, who you hate, who you worship. And if you never face it, it will haunt every relationship you ever have. You think you are seeing other people, but half the time, you are only seeing the masks your own unconscious has painted on them. That is the Anima and the Animus. Not a theory. A spell you are already under. Jung's idea was disarmingly simple. The Anima is the hidden feminine inside a man. The Animus is the hidden masculine inside a woman. They are symbols of polarity, whatever qualities you exile, deny, or project onto the other. For some, they appear in feminine or masculine form. For others, they shift fluidly, even androgynous. The ghost wears the mask your unconscious chooses. And this is why the Anima and Animus matter. They decide who you love, who you fear, who you follow. They are the unseen authors of obsession and attraction. When they stir, you don't see the person in front of you. You see the projection. You see your unconscious painted on their face. This is why lovers feel like destiny and enemies like demons. You are not courting a person. You are wrestling a ghost wearing their skin. And unless you recognize it, the ghost will rule you. This ghost is not new. Long before Jung gave it a name, myth wrapped it in stories. In the night, it came as the succubus and incubus, spirits of seduction, stealing vitality through dreams, desire explained as visitation, obsession framed as possession. In fairy tales, it became the guide, the wise old man with impossible advice, the fairy bride who appears, then vanishes if you doubt, figures that lead the hero, but always at a cost. Alchemy hid it in the marriage of opposites, the king and queen, the sun and moon, sulfur and mercury. Their union, the conjunctio, was the only way to forge gold. And in the Gnostic texts, it was the syzygy, the eternal pairing of opposites that births worlds, heaven and earth, light and shadow, male and female. Everywhere you look, the same pattern repeats. The ghost double, the inner consort, the invisible partner who shapes your fate. Jung did not invent the Anima and Animus. He translated the oldest myth into psychology. Projection itself isn't mystical, it's mechanical. The brain is a prediction engine. It fills in gaps with what it expects to see. That's why you don't fall in love with a person. You fall in love with your model of them. Your nervous system paints their face with patterns from your past. Mirror neurons fire as if their body were your own. You feel their joy, their rage, their touch inside your skin. The boundary blurs. Attachment templates do the deeper work. Your first bonds, the soothing mother, the absent father, the unpredictable caregiver, leave blueprints. Later lovers are forced into those molds. The anima and animus are stitched from these early patterns, and the brain is a ghost maker. Phantom limbs still itch when the body is gone. Children invent invisible friends. Tulpas, dream guides, shadow companions, all products of the same predictive machinery. The anima and the animus are the phantom limbs of the soul. The missing other, conjured inside your own skull, then mistaken for someone else. This is why projection feels alive. Because to your nervous system it is. So how do you recognize the ghost when it moves? Look to your dreams. The anima and animus appear there more vividly than anywhere else. As lovers, guides, or enemies that carry an uncanny charge. Watch your projections. When your reaction to someone is wildly disproportionate, obsession, idolization, or hatred out of nowhere, that's the ghost leaking through. Notice your obsessions. The stranger you can't stop thinking about. The celebrity who feels like destiny. The enemy you can't stop hating. None of them are who you think. They are masks worn by your unconscious. And in the occult traditions, this wasn't a problem to suppress. It was a rite of initiation. Recognition was the first step. Naming the projection before it swallows you. Dialogue was the second. Jung called it active imagination. Occultists called it invocation. You treat the figure as real enough to speak with, to wrestle, to negotiate. And the final step was integration, not worship, not banishment, but marriage. Solve et coagula. Dissolve the polarity, recombine the opposites, make something whole. The anima and animus are not there to destroy you. They are there to complete you. If you don't meet the ghost inside, you will mistake it for every face outside. Every lover becomes a savior. Every critic becomes a daemon. Every leader becomes a god. This is how cults are born. This is how obsessions devour lives. This is how empires fall into the hands of zealots, not because of demons in the air, but because of the ghosts we refuse to face in ourselves. The anima and the animus are mirrors. Look into them blindly, and you will live in hallucination. Look into them with awareness, and you will find integration. This is the ancient marriage. The alchemists called it the conjunctio oppositorum, the union of sun and moon, king and queen. Mystics called it the syzygy, the hidden pair that gives birth to the world. Psychologists call it individuation, the slow burning work of becoming whole. But the language doesn't matter. What matters is the act. To stand between opposites, without collapsing into either. To hold the tension of contradiction until it becomes light. To become, finally, sovereign. That is the only way to break the spell. And that is the ghost's secret gift. If you face it, you are no longer haunted. So now you know. The Anima, the Animus, the ghost inside you. Not a theory on paper, not a bedtime myth, but the silent puppeteer behind love, hate, worship, and despair. You can keep pretending it isn't there, but then you'll keep mistaking your own ghost for someone else's face. You'll keep falling in love with projections. You'll keep fighting shadows you've painted onto enemies. And you'll never be free. Or you can turn. Look directly into the mirror. See the phantom bride. See the shadow groom. See the guide that speaks in riddles. And instead of running, hold their gaze. Every culture has told this story. The alchemist's marriage, the mystic's syzygy, the tarot's lover's card, the marriage of sun and moon. They were never talking about someone else. They were talking about you. So here's the challenge. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever felt it? A lover who carried the weight of myth? An enemy who felt bigger than life? A dream figure who left you shaken? That was the Anima. That was the Animus. That was the ghost. Share your story below. Not a line, a full thought. Because this channel doesn't thrive on slogans. It thrives on thinkers who dare to wrestle the ghost. Subscribe if you want to keep stepping into the chamber. This is not a place for certainty. It is a place for paradox. And if you stay here, you will not come away with answers. You will come away with sharper questions and the tools to survive them.